The biggest lesson I've learned in my journey is to follow, and I'm not speaking directly to me, but I've learned, is to follow your values. You know, and I say that to everybody, but I've learned myself is to follow my values. There's a difference in following your dreams. There's a difference in following your passion. There's a difference in, following and chasing a certain thing in your career. There's even a difference between following and chasing the truth, or seeking truth, or seeking your own truth, or seeking truth to power, whatever that is. There's a difference between that and following your core values. This game, be it journalism, be it broadcast, be it digital space, be it social media, just any form of communication, mass communication, be it advertising, be it marketing, whatever, design, whatever you decide to get into from a career standpoint, I can say you're gonna be challenged to do the right and wrong things, and you're gonna be challenged to do things that are true to you and not true to you. And that's where the values come in. As human beings, we basically know the difference between right and wrong. We can say that we don't, and we could, justify, wrong and say if we don't do this, we can do that, and that's fine. Sometimes those situations come up. This game has the power to pull you away from what your core beliefs are and how you want to function as a human being. And it's a hard thing not to do, because a lot of times there are career-defining choices that are attached to that. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about career-defining choices of how you want your thing to go out. And sometimes when you're making career-defining choices, there are more people than just you attached to that. There could be family. There could be friends. There could be coworkers. There could be, people that work under you. There could be projects. There could be a lot of things attached to that. But at the end of the day, and being in this as long as I've been in it, I say if you stay true to your values, you'll be fine. Yeah, I've learned not at a great cost, but I have learned that the one thing you do want to do that will help you sustain mentally, physically, economically, emotionally, throughout whatever career it is you're building, is if you stay faithful and true to your values and whatever they are. And that also applies to life. You know what I'm saying? But to me, if you do something for as long as I've done this, once you have a career that is going into its third and fourth decade, that really becomes part of who you are. So you can't really separate something like that from your career, from how you want to function in life. So, throughout your career, you can always have life lessons. And that's one of those things that I believe that I learned inside my career that I also have learned to apply to my life, is that stay true, is stay, chase your values, to stay true to your values, And there are sometimes several points where you get in your career and you get in your life where you have that fuck it moment. Where you just have to say fuck it, and what you do with that kind of defines who you are as a woman, as a man, as a human being. I've had a few fuck it moments in my career where I've had to challenge myself against the system, against who I was working with, against who I was working for, who I was working against, all at the same time. Here, I'll give you one specific, and not give you any big, long. I'll give you one directly related to working with ESPN. There was a column I felt that needed to be written. And it was a column about the lack of Black individuals in the media, in sports media. There was a study that came out. Dr. Richard Lapchick did this study. And basically, he looked at the amount of sports editors, the percentage of sports editors in America that were of color. And his research said that there was 1.5%, I think it was 4 out of 305, Black/African American individuals that were sports editors of all the sport print outlets in America. 1.5%. Me being in sports, me being a columnist at the time at ESPN, I felt it necessary for those numbers to have a story written behind it. Not just the numbers staying out there. Like, what does this 1.5% really mean? What does it really indicate? And I wrote a column about it. They refused to run it. I fought like for 10 days. Like, you all really need to, and I'm going against the quote unquote Disney, property and this, that, and the other, trying to get this thing done. And for whatever reasons, and I've gone into situations with them where we've disagreed on columns and stuff like that. But there's certain things I believe you have to fight for. And, it was one of those fucking moments where I'm like, you know what? Run this shit. It'll be bad if you don't run this shit, because it's gonna look bad if you don't run this shit. And I'm not saying I'm gonna leave or nothing like that, but this is a fucking moment, where I basically had to go up against the powers that be at the company I was working with at the time. And sometimes you have to do stuff for the greater good. And even though it may sacrifice you, they could have been like, you know what, Scoop, you had your fucking moment, now we're gonna have a fuck you moment. You're done. But you have to have those moments that you stand on it. And they eventually wound up running that story. And to me, it was one of the most, one of the important stories and columns that I've written. It wound up causing a whole nother thing down the line, but I thought it was important for that to be said outside of just those numbers, so that all of these writers and young writers who want to be the next Stephen A. Smith, who at the time wanted to be the next Stuart Scott, who want to be the next Jamel Hill, you want to be the next Jason Whitlocks, you want to be the next journalist of color, to have some type of impact, to work for ESPN or work in the sports sphere and all this, that, and the other. To be that next journalist, you need to understand what your chances are and what this 1.5% means and how hard you have to work to get there and what you're really up against. Because if you don't know that, because you're not reading Dr. Richard Lapchek's study, you're not doing that, but you are looking at ESPN. And that's what this vehicle is for. That's what I'm there for. To tell you that this is the number, this is what you have to up against. Now now navigate through that. That's what it's there for. And if we don't use this platform to tell those stories to them so that they can have a better chance to get in these positions that we fought to get in, then if we don't do that, then what the hell are we doing? So, I've had a few occasions in my career where I've had to go up against that, that body that I signed a contract to work with. And it's more than just you at risk. It's what you represent. And being such a small percentage and being such a small minority of individuals that are in the sports field, especially in the sports field working for a company as large as ESPN, you know that if you're not there anymore, that space is more than just you not being there. It's more than one person. You know what I'm saying? And if you lose that battle, what's going to happen is those that come behind you are not going to fight the battle at all, because they're going to see you as what can happen to them if they fight. So you have to be willing to go down for the fight, but you have to be smart. You have to play the game correctly. You have to know when to swing and when to duck, when to go for the knockout, when to throw a jab. It's all about balancing and knowing the game. And sometimes you're going to take some L's. But there are points in your career, and like I said, I've been through a few, and that was just one of them, where you have to say, fuck it. This is worth it. And I'm going down for a fight on this. Period. That's it.